Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about S4 Listening Test Paper 2. And I hope when you watch this video, you should have your test paper 2 ready. So let's start. So there are mainly three parts in this video. First of all, I will tell you how to prepare for the task. And then number 2, I will teach you actually what you should do during the listening. And then lastly, we will check the answer. And in this video, we will focus on task 1 and task 2. Without further ado, let's start. So first of all, there are actually 4 basic steps that you should follow, which are: number 1, understand the situation. That means you have to know who you are and what the theme is. And number 2, read the questions. And number 3, guess the answers. And number 4, listen and stay focused. And for this task, part A, your situation is that you are Patrick Learn. And this is actually very important because most of the time you have to spell your name Patrick. If you don't know how to spell Patrick, here is the answer. And then you and your classmate Eric and Rachel, sometimes you have to write their names. So this is their name, Eric and Rachel. And the theme is about environmental studies course. So you are expected to hear something like environment and pollution. And lastly, please note that you have 2 minutes for preparation. And in this 2 minutes, you have to go through all 4 tasks to familiarize yourself with what you are going to face. And let's start with task 1. For task 1, you see that this is a website, and you have 30 seconds to study the task, and after that, you have 1 minute to tidy up your answers. So, what should you prepare? Let's see. First of all, we see email. So you have to guess the answer. So what you may hear. For example, you may hear something like at, dot, or maybe underscore, and sometimes mail, M-A-I-L, mail. This is important because you should know how to spell and you should know what they are. And then number 2, name of school. So for the school names, there must be capital letters. You must write in capital letters, otherwise it will be wrong. And then for the next part, your energy saving suggestions. First of all, you should notice that number 3, it starts with a verb. That means for number 1 and number 2, you should also start with a verb as well. So please pay attention to that. And then for another thing that I've highlighted, like when the room is empty and air conditioning, this is the hints for you to listen. When you listen to the audio, you should know that when you hear when the room is empty, then that is the answer. And for questions 6 and 7, you see this is a multiple choice. And the important part is that you have to know how to read the words, because you have to know how to listen to them. So for the first one, this is be a member. Number 2 is download podcast. Number 3 is submit proposals. And number 4, view information pages. And please remember, you have to know how to read them. You must know how to read them. Okay, so here comes the next task. Task 2. And when you read the instructions, this task is very special because there are 2 parts. And in part A, you have to mark the locations of something, and then in part B, you have to fill in the information. And you have 30 seconds to prepare, and after that, you have 1 minute to tidy up your answer. So let's go to part A. For part A, first of all, you will notice this covers 3 answers. Why? Because this is from question 8, question 9, and question 10. So you expect to mark 3 places. And for the map, basically, you need to know how to read all of them. I would say this is common sense for Hong Kong people because for places like Mong Kok, it should be very familiar to everyone. But for some places, let's go into that. For example, number 1 is the Mong Kok MTR station. This is what you need to know. And number 2, Mong Kok Road, just like this. And then number 3, Argyle Street. So these are something you may come across in the listening. Okay, how about in part B? In part B, it is just like what you saw in part A. That means you have to look at the contextual hints in order to locate the answer in the listening. And here, for the first question, you see first, what does the first set of numbers shows? Okay, what does the first set of numbers show? So it shows the something in the air. So you have to pay attention when you listen and then pay attention to the words first set of numbers. And then for question 12, the question is how many pollutants? That means you have to listen for numbers. How many pollutants? Numbers. Oops. Numbers here. And question 13, it is about how bad was the roadside pollution in Mong Kok yesterday. How bad? So what would be the answer? Maybe it's okay, it's very serious, or it's not very serious. You would expect something like that. And then for question 14, why is the second set of data more varying? And the question right here is why. So you would expect something like because of something. And here it gives you the hints because the data shows the amount of air pollutants that are look for that in the listening. And then lastly, where do the toxic components come from? Where? That means you're expecting some places. Okay, so after all these preparation, you should be ready for the next step. That is, listen and stay focused. So I will show you what you should do and actually what you should mark down in your question paper. So let's start. So here comes the answer checking of task 1 and task 2, and I will do it question by question. So let's look at the screen, and you can see this is task 1, and let's look at question 1, the answer of the email.
I'll type in my email address, patrick_001@gmail.com.
Okay, and the answer is easy, patrick_001@gmail.com. And make sure that you write in small letters for email address. And then for name of school,
You have to enter the name of our school, which is Kowloon Secondary School.
the answer is Kowloon Secondary School. And make sure you write Kowloon, the K, capital letter, secondary school, both as capital letters. And for question 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so what do you suggest we do at school to conserve energy?
I think the most obvious thing to do is to turn off lights when we leave a room.
Yeah, so the answer is turn off lights. And then question 4.
Keeping the classroom door closed is another obvious thing to do.
Is keep the classroom doors closed. And when you heard keeping the classroom doors closed. But as I told you, yeah, it should start with a verb, but not a gerund. So if it is very strict, that may be counted as a mistake. Yeah, but if it is linear, just like in task 1, okay, still okay. And then for question 5.
Another suggestion, which is also obvious, is to use only energy-saving light bulbs in every classroom?
So the answer is use only energy-saving light bulbs. Remember the S, light bulbs. Okay, and for questions 6 and 7,
You have to check these two boxes too. We want to listen to their podcasts and view their information pages.
so you could hear the words podcast and also information pages. So the answer, very obvious. Download podcasts and view information pages. Okay, and then for task 2. First of all, this is the map, and for the first answer,
How about Nathan Road? It's the biggest and busiest road in Mongkok. There are many cars and buses.
okay, so first of all, you have to locate Nathan Road. And Nathan Road, as he told you, it is.
Right here, in the middle of the map.
So you know Nathan Road is in the middle of the map. So you locate that in the middle of the map. And it is related to some MTR stations. So it must be near the MTR station.
Okay, here is Nathan Road. Which exit were you thinking of?
Right here, between exits E1 and E2.
Okay, between exits E1 and E2, that means in the middle of that. So this is the first answer. Let's see if I can show only one answer. No, so I have to show all answers. Yeah, so it is between E1 and E2. And for number 2, the B one,
How about putting it at the junction of Shanghai Street and Argyle Street?
a junction, that is the two roads overlap, the point when two roads overlap. And this time it is the overlapping of Argyle Street and also Shanghai Street.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, let me put a cross there, at the junction of Shanghai Street and Argyle Street.
Okay, and lastly, for the last cross,
See the area that's shaded grey?
Uh-huh. On the right, you mean?
okay, so it gives you hints that it is a gray area on the right. So there are actually only two gray areas. One is the Fa Yuen Street Market and the other one is Macpherson Playground.
Yes, that's the Fa Yuen Street Market. There are always a lot of people passing by. I think we can put a station inside the Fa Yuen Street Market. What do you think?
Good idea.
So this time it's inside the Fa Yuen Street Market. So you put the cross inside the gray area. So here conclude the part A of task 2. How about part B? Okay, so this comes to part B. So let's take a look at question 11.
What do these numbers mean?
Okay, the first set of numbers shows us the amount of pollutants in the air.
So the answer is it shows us the amount of pollutants in the air. So amount of pollutants. Okay, and then how many?
Each of our monitoring stations measures 12 different pollutants.
So the answer is easy, 12. Yeah, so here you could write the number. Try not to spell it because it takes your time and it puts you into the risk of spelling it wrongly. So just put 1, 2, 12. For 13,
Well, look at the numbers here. The roadside pollution was quite bad in Mongkok yesterday. The numbers are high.
Yep,
so how bad? How bad? Quite bad. Pretty bad. And it's actually assessed bad. Okay, so quite bad. 14,
What's more worrying is this second set of numbers. The second set of numbers measures the group of air pollutants that are toxic.
that are toxic.
yeah, like benzene or formaldehyde.
Okay, for the rest, you don't have to listen to that. So the answer is toxic. Okay, the answer is toxic. And lastly, well, for questions 15 and 16, you have to listen for the places. And here are the answer.
Hang on, where do these toxic pollutants come from?
From factories.
So number 1 is factories. How about number 2?
Then they must come from the exhaust fumes from motor vehicles.
Yeah, exhaust fumes from motor vehicles. Okay, so you have got the answer for task 1 and task 2, and I hope for task 3 and task 4 you can do it with confidence. Bye bye.